Hello, everybody, and happy Halloween. It's one of my favorite holidays, partially because obviously you get to dress up and get some candy, but also because it's 2 days after my birthday, so if I had just held out a little bit longer, I would have had a really cool birthday. But at any rate, today we're going to be going over my friend Erica's website, which is called Cheese, Sex, Death. It's one of my favorite blogs, first of all, just because Erica's awesome, but also because she is a solid marketing professional. She knows how to work social to get lots of traffic to her blog. In fact, she had a really big breakthrough recently where one of her posts got shared on some huge meme page, and now she gets ridiculous engagement even on Facebook, where organic reach is essentially zero now. So I have a lot of respect for her as a fellow marketer, and she asked me to look over her website, so let me pull that up for you here so you can see it. So one thing that you'll notice, similar to a lot of the other audits that we've done in the past, is that Erica uses her recent posts as her homepage. And as you might know from my very opinionated nature on the topic, is that I think that a homepage is better, it serves you better if you use it to focus on your most important sort of call to actions, or whatever it is that you want customers to do, or not customers, visitors. But I guess in Erica's case, she does have a shop, which we'll talk about a little bit, so it's something worth considering. So a couple things to keep in mind here. First of all, like I just said, Erica has a shop component, which is, I would say, underrepresented in the homepage right now. There's really no mention of it besides the fact that it's in the top menu navigation. So unless somebody's curious, they're not going to have a reason to go there, or unless they've been following her for a long time, they're on her emails or they're following her on social. They're just not going to have a reminder to be looking at the shop. So what might make more sense, instead of having this latest blog post layout, is to have maybe some sort of hero image and then some feature items under that. Maybe one of the feature items is, jump straight into the blog content. Maybe one of them is shop related merchandise. And then maybe another one is about working with Erica, because she has a couple different ways that people can work with her, whether they're a brand or even an individual who just wants to learn more about cheese. So that is really kind of the nature of this website. It's like a guide to cheese for cheese lovers, ideas for pairing, a glossary of terms, dealing with lactose intolerance and being a cheese lover. Really, Erica has covered everything, and her background in restaurant marketing and having been a cheesemonger in the past lends really well to the things she talks about. It's not just something that she's researched, it's something that she actually knows, because she's experimented with pairings and being in the industry and all this good stuff. So the blog content really is the focus of what Erica shares on this website. But in order for her to monetize that, or to advance herself professionally, then the homepage really needs to be about more than just the blog. It needs to be about who is Erica and why would you want to work with her or read her content or buy from her shop. So again, a hero image with some feature items would be great. Let's look at the website the way it is right now on the homepage. So I have to say, I think that Erica's layout here, it's very simple but effective. It really focuses on the content, which is exactly where the focus needs to be. We have this black bar surrounding it, again, just putting that emphasis directly on the content. And that might actually be a function of this cookies notice here, which a lot of people have been incorporating lately in line with GDPR, which, if you haven't heard of that, is the General Data Policy Regulation for the European Union. And while it might not affect your business if you don't serve customers in the EU, it's looking like it might be sort of the foundation for a worldwide data privacy regulation. So even though you might not have to be compliant today, It's a good practice, especially for a website that doesn't have any specific geographic targeting. You know, for sure, there's probably people in Europe who are reading Erica's blog, and so making sure to have that covered, even if she's not maybe selling to them, for example, is still a good best practice. And so there's tons of different plugins you can use on WordPress to generate these cookie notices, basically to get approval to use cookies. And I like that hers has like a yes button as well as like a no button, but in language that matches the brand of her website. So let's just see what happens. Okay, if we get rid of that, then the bottom bar goes away, but we still have this bar that surrounds the page and again puts the emphasis on the content. So let's go back up here a bit. We have all these different places where you can follow Erica or get in touch. One thing that I think it's important to keep in mind when it comes to social sharing buttons is that sometimes having too many is going to prevent somebody from clicking any one of them. So just like that TED Talk or study about, you go to like a grocery store and people are sampling different jams, and there's, the more jams there are, the less likely someone is to sample and then buy them, because it's that paradox of choice. Having too many choices of what to do sometimes gets in the way of converting anyone at all. So I would say that maybe a focus on just like your top, maybe 5 social channels, especially the visual ones, might be good here. And then we have stuff like, phone, LinkedIn, email, all those things maybe would be served better on these work with me pages because they're more about Erica versus the blog, or maybe on the about page, or maybe, both types of pages. Excuse me. So let's keep on going here. We also have a newsletter opt-in. And if you've been following these UX audits, we've talked about having these sidebars in general. Not something I would recommend for the homepage unless, of course, you're doing this sort of, latest post design. In that case, it makes sense, although I still think that the homepage should be more customized to be focusing on those most important, conversion factors or whatever. But, having an opt-in is something that seems at home in the sidebar. The only thing about this is it doesn't really have a compelling reason to do it. I mean, we can see Erica's content, it's great, and so if you love cheese, you're probably just going to go for it anyway. But for those people who are the tougher sell when it comes to getting them to opt into your newsletter, you want to add a little bit more context. What can people expect? How often are you going to send updates? What are these updates going to consist of? Is it going to be just news? Are there going to be special offers for your store? What's in it for me if I were to give you my email? Because I already get a billion emails a day that I have to sift through, and I think everyone feels the same way. So something to keep in mind. I do like that she gives an extra option for events in Chicago because she's pretty well connected, and so having access to that is definitely a piece of value for her subscribers. But maybe then too, it makes sense to expand on that a little bit about expectations and the actual content that will be in the newsletter. So then I like that she doesn't go overboard in this sidebar in terms of like trying to stuff it with ads and, reminders to like look at a bunch of different blog posts and whatever. These are a product that Erica has actually introduced me to. She came to Denver, I think it was last year, for a cheese convention, and she brought these with, and they're really cool. So I know, from that personal experience that she loves this product and she uses it and she recommends it. And the fact that she is singularly focused on this, she probably has, it looks like, an Amazon affiliate link where she can make money. I think doing something like this, having one product, is a lot more effective than trying to push like a bunch of different products in the sidebar, while people are reading her content. So, that's something for other bloggers who are trying to make money with affiliate marketing to keep in mind. Again, along with that sort of paradox of choice, if there's too much going on, then it reduces the chance of basically any conversion. So, that's the gist with the homepage. She does do a good job of cutting off the posts so they're just kind of like an excerpt that gets people excited about reading more. And, you know, she has tags and stuff to make it easy to go through all the different content. So I don't think there's any sort of issue in terms of how she's displaying her blog posts and sort of like the feed side of things. One thing I would recommend is maybe making better use out of the footer. So repeating your social links, repeating your opt-in for emails and whatever messaging you use for that, repeating your menu, maybe even having like an Instagram feed, because Erica does have a really solid Instagram presence and it's visual, it relates to the brand. So having that could be a good way to be pushing more people to follow her there as well. Let's take a look at just a couple of her other pages here. So we have a couple different about sections, and Erica's brand is so funny. I mean, it's very in your face. It's not for somebody who's uptight and, you know, doesn't like to have fun, but she gets kind of straight to the point of that, both in her blog posts and here on her about page too. And it's very simple. It gets, you know, it's just like, here's what it's all about. I love that it's not just like a block of text. It's really easy to read and get to the gist of, you know, what you can expect by reading the blog here. This is kind of weird. Sometimes on WordPress, there's certain things like comments or you know, different functionalities that get left on in sort of inappropriate places. Like, you know, this is a page, so there probably shouldn't be any related posts because it's not a blog post. So, you know, it's important when you're creating different pages to make sure that you look through what it looks like published, because every once in a while there'll be something that you didn't realize was there and it just kind of takes away from the main point of the page. And again, on things like about pages, I'm iffy with the sidebar because it does have important stuff that's related to the idea of about, like her social links, you know, favorite products and signing up for details. So maybe on the about page it makes sense to have the sidebar, but I would probably get rid of it on other pages that are not blog posts just because it distracts from the main content. So then, let's see. So we have a couple different ways that you can work with Erica, and she lists them out here in a grand service page. So that's cool. A lot of people, you know, they'll either have one service page where they try to get everything on there, or they'll have all separate service pages, but they don't have one that brings them all together. And so I think she's already ahead of the curve there with some very on-brand imagery. The one thing that I will say, and this is totally a personal choice, but when you look into the pages, there's no sort of benchmark in terms of what people can expect as far as pricing. She actually does list pricing on her Chicago Cheese Parties page, so that's a really easy resource that somebody could use to, you know, plan a cheese party where they wanted Erica to run it. But things like social media, she lists out sort of like deliverables and what you can expect, and in different packages, which is great, but there's no sort of ballpark for pricing. And again, this is a really personal decision for somebody to decide if they even want to show that on their website. I think it makes it easier for people to hire you. And if you don't want to put down exact numbers, because especially with social media, there's so many things that you have to customize just depending on who the client is and what their needs are. Sometimes providing a range or saying, you know, I only work with people with a budget minimum of X. I think that would be helpful in converting more people from this page. Another thing that I think this page is missing is a contact form directly embedded on the page. She does have a link to schedule a free consultation, and it links, it looks like it's trying to open up Apple Mail, which I never used, but anyway, it does open up like a mail to link, and it automatically fills in a subject that's not related to this, so it's probably copied from that other page. Again, you know, always check through all your links, because you never know what's going to happen when you're using them in actuality. But, a contact form is so much easier to use, especially if somebody doesn't have that like one-click functionality to get to their mail. So that's pretty much all I've got. She also has a shop, and it looks like it's hosted on Big Cartel, so it's like a separate platform. So a couple things to consider. A, if you're using WordPress, you might want to just embed it directly in there, because then you can do things like optimizing all these product pages for SEO, and then whatever traffic you get from that will help out with the rest of your website. It's also just nice to have everything all in one dashboard if you use WooCommerce. It depends on the fulfillment process behind this, the logistics, all that good stuff, but something to consider just to be helpful from an SEO standpoint. And then it might also be easier to like weave in product features into blog posts and things like that. Just small things to consider. But the fact that it's separated out is probably not ideal. The main thing I think is just that it's still kind of an afterthought, this shop. And she has some cool products, these pins, this shirt. And so, if it's an important part of your brand to monetize those things, you want to make sure that it's like obvious and like in your face somehow. So with that, I love this website. I love the brand. I think there's just a couple little things that could be made more clear to basically just achieve conversion goals, the specific things that you want to monetize and the specific areas that you want to bring attention. So with that, happy Halloween, everyone, and until next week.